This is for me and for you. This will be my last day at the bridge. Those of you following, what are we now? Day 3 of me documenting an experience of anxiety and depression. I'm a clinician. Hello, welcome on the replay. Psychotherapist, coach, psychologist, and practiced. And recently, life happens. And what I've been doing is just sharing a bit with you, wanting to involve you and be human with you and invite you to talk about your own experience, whatever that is. It's so subjective, life. One of the things that I have done recently in this process is pathologize, which is really dangerous, which is to attribute huge pressure on the fact that I have had experiences or symptoms of dis-ease. And this is the thing, and it often happens, of course, the more stress you're under, the more you're identified with the I can't, the more you see that. If you've had depression or drinking or eating disorders or physiological complaints and so on, the more heavy we feel, the more we identify with the heaviness, right? And that's not necessarily helpful. And as I was saying yesterday, it can be helpful to get a sense of what are the symptoms of a certain thing that you identify with, but it doesn't define us. It's actually just a symptom. It's just a symptom of existential crisis that we all have. So, of course, hello this morning. I was thinking about human needs, 6 human needs, and what I would classically say to any of us when we're in difficulty or stress is one or more of our 6 human needs isn't being met in the way that is good enough for us. So we get stressed and then we go to our thing, whatever that is. I happen to, because I'm in this field, I get to, research it and slap labels on it and so on. And yesterday, one of the things that I shared is body dysmorphia. And essentially all that means is incredible criticism of yourself. So the fact that just I use that word, usually when you're in a room full of people, I'm guessing about 50% are going to highly, highly identify, if not more than that. And 4 or 5 in that group probably are going to have periods of time where they've been crippled by that thing, whether or not stopped you from going out one night, for example, or, oh gosh, I don't know. We do these things where we retreat, right, through shame because we see something as being huge. So what I wanted to bring us back to a little bit today is whatever the issue, existential crisis, you're existing and there's a crisis. And then oftentimes when it feels overwhelming and we're in the fear place, that's when we start to go. And certainly this was what has been going on for me recently is this depression? Oh my God, mental illness. Oh my God, problem. And as my friend said, sometimes when you're reflective or when you're intuitive, perceptive, when you're in this field as well, you can overthink. And that's not to say necessarily that's what I was doing, but we all, I think, we can be served by deciding where am I going to lean. Information is powerful, absolutely, but equally where am I going to identify? So I often do my best to sort of straddle both camps of what am I dealing with, but also to humanize it. Because many, many of us go to food or go to drink, but you don't necessarily say to yourself, I have atypical eating disorder. You might just say, I eat when I'm stressed. It might be that you drink and you don't necessarily identify as an alcoholic, although you are, or use that term. Sometimes it's not important, that bit. The important bit, it seems to me, is to be able to know well enough what you're dealing with that it's not working for you, or it's just an indicator that we get to pay attention to if we want to, and then we get to decide what we want to do with it. But the reality of it is, I was thinking about yesterday's video and thinking, to sort of a new person, to me, can seem kind of outlandish to have a woman saying, this, that and the other, all of these issues, when even in, a lot of people think about the US and think, it's far more readily sort of spoken about therapy there and coaching there and problems there. And that's not my experience, my friends. My experience of being in this culture is that people here are just as critical and fearful of asking for help and there's still a lot of stigma. I work with a lot of coaches, for example, and the idea of somebody having therapy, often that is still extraordinary and, hard and too much, and it has to be really bad in order to do that, as opposed to I'm looking for somebody who's been there, who knows this, and how exciting and scary, and also, everything else as well. We can have it all, if that makes sense. So I'm, again, just documenting with you where I am in the process, which is, I guess, trying to appreciate that there's a stressor and it's scary because we don't fear what we haven't been through, right? So that's been happening for me, but also to share with you what I know, which is for anybody who's having pressure with the generals, relationships, money, moving, all of those kinds of things. We're human. And again, in our culture, there's so much pressure to be better and get more and be more and all of this stuff, that sometimes there is that part of us that wants to retreat, and that will be the chocolate, the TV, the porn, the whatever it is. So I, again, want to be cautious not to over-pathologize, to label stuff, but equally to take it seriously, because sometimes it's useful to know what you're dealing with. So that's just, again, my intention here is just to talk openly about what it is that I know, and say me too. It's a kind of, again, collective movement of shit happeneth, as they say. It's what we do about it, really. And, as much of a challenge as it can be, my thinking has been that, that's where I've been, is one of the people who just, it's too much, don't want to deal with it, and then retreat or shame myself or whatever. And I know a lot of other people can feel like that. Today's the last day that I'll be at the bridge. One of you, beautiful ones, sent me a lovely, lovely message saying, the funny thing about bridges, of course, is we can also use them to get over things. So I thought, well, that's a nice metaphor for us moving on from the bridge, because this is my warm-up normally when I used to run, was to come here, warm up, and then do my run. So I'm day 3, this is that for me. So we'll be somewhere else tomorrow. One of the things I wanted to share with you that I realised yesterday as I got home, because of course I've had a knee injury, I thought, gosh, I've been taking turmeric, a lot of it, for about 5 months. So those of you from us know you can use, if you want turmeric or green drink or probiotic or protein and so on, Organifi products, you can use my Poppy code. That's for us, that's for our tribe, any of us. Poppy15, if you want any of those products, honest to goodness, I do swear by them. So I thought about the turmeric yesterday and thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if that's any good for headaches, because they've been tarmacking the road and it gave me a headache yesterday. No more headache. I don't take painkillers and all of that kind of stuff. My days of abusing that stuff is over. I used to do that because, of course, with anxiety, you often get a lot of headaches or stomach aches or whatever. So I was addicted to painkillers on top of everything else to try and just quick fix it, as opposed to look at what is my body telling me about what's going on in this environment. To just be feeding more inflammation and so on in my body, because I'm too lazy to work out what's actually going on. I don't take that anymore, and incidentally I don't have those kinds of symptoms anymore, because if I notice something's going on in my body, then I'll move my body, change my environment, all of that kind of stuff. So you're very welcome to use that code and research the products if you don't know them already. Turmeric, yes, I'd forgotten, otherwise I'd have shared it with you guys earlier. So anyway, again, this is me doing me, and what's been working for me, honestly, has been running, obviously, move our body, with some tenderness about, hang on a minute, when you're existing and there's pressure or crisis, and I think this is something a lot of people are identifying with at the moment, is in whatever way you're feeling pressure. Am I right? Is there sort of changes in your lives going on, or moments of, oh my God, how do I control this, or what's the right thing to do, or how do I work it out in my head? And this is often what we do with change, is we go to our head. How do I get more sense of certainty? This is where a lot of us, one of our top human needs is, how do I control and predict what the hell's going to happen to me? And when that isn't so readily clear to us, we start to panic. And then We can feel insignificant in whatever way. And then we start to panic because that is a human need. And then, there's not enough connection with somebody else because we've withdrawn from them because we feel ashamed or we're judging. And then that is a human need. So that human need is, sort of a bit precarious as well. And then we don't feel we're growing because we've withdrawn a bit. That is a human need, etc., etc. So when we look at these things, I would say to you, whether you identify with me or not, one of the things that has always been pivotal with crisis times is reaching out to other people and speaking about what's going on with you, obviously. And I appreciate it's white knuckle kind of fear stuff for a lot of people, is to be able to say, look, this is me. And it's not necessarily to say, I need you to fix it, I need you to do something. If you're talking to somebody else, it is to have someone just know, just be present, just see you for who you are. That can be incredible. Somebody reached out to me the other day, actually, and said, "Oh, I'm going to come visit," and I was like, "That it's lovely. It's not what it's about. I don't feel. I've been very clear that any time this is going on for any of us, mindful that I do this for a living with other people. This is a good thing. It's just a scary thing, and pain can come up, feelings can come up, and it's being with the feeling. That's a challenge, obviously, because many of us move to do this: smoke it, eat it, screw it, whatever, away, as opposed to, what are these feelings here to teach me? What are the messages here? What's being indicated? And for me, a lot's been shifting, and it's been shifting because I haven't shifted it myself. Many of us were pretty courageous, but we equally, we equally can be fearful and inactive and stick with the familiar. And life sometimes gives you a big old shove. People who have fires in their houses, and ultimately, what was in there is, how do I change this? Something sometimes comes in and there's a rude awakening for us and really stirs us up. What I'm curious about is what could be greater that's happening for all of us, any of us right now. Something greater this can be divine intervention. This can be a gift. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily make it really fun or exciting all of the time. We have mixed feelings about things. And I suggest that we welcome them as much as we can. I loved your live in the morning show today. Oh, good. Good, Irene. I'm very, very pleased. Yes. The synopsis of our lives this morning, Mastery Mornings, was really what Rihanna does. Her approach, her winning kind of happiness campaign of life is, she said in an interview once I heard her, she believes that the universe is conspiring to support her. And that is essentially her standby mantra. That's an assumption of hers. So we thought about this today, and how would that be for you if we allow that? And a lot of people want to attack that idea. It's not that simple, and that's Pollyanna or whatever it is. But I wonder what it's like for us when we look at whatever challenge that we're having and we allow ourselves room to get curious. Where is this my strength? Where can this be something that takes me towards more strength? Where can this actually be a gift, a blessing? And equally, we can all be mindful there are far more people in the world needing help than people giving help, if that makes sense. So in terms of people identifying with my story, for example, some of my weird and wonderful stuff, there's a lot of people identifying. There's not as many people here who are actually sharing their gifts, your gifts, all of us, anybody here. We got all of you guys on here. Every single one of you has a story, right? And your own interpretation of that story, and your own lessons in that story, your own strengths that have come out of that, your own powerhouse stuff, how creative you've been in your own way to meander your way through challenges and traumas and difficulty. This is the thing about trauma. My definition, feeling overwhelmed and alone in it. And when I used to send out forms for new clients, I would send a trauma questionnaire. And so frequently it would come back blank. And if I had somebody working for me, particularly if it was new people, they'd say, oh no, there's no trauma, they sent it back blank. I'm like, send it back again. It is impossible not to have had trauma. It's how we judge it. People often think it's about war and so on. It's very, very subjective. What is your experience? Where have you overcome? What are we still holding on to? Where does that resurface? Because for whatever reason, we're not dealing with it. Because we're telling ourselves it's too scary, or we're pathologizing ourselves and saying I have periods of depression or anxiety or eating disorder or whatever it is. That stuff just surfaces as a symptom of the body and the psyche going, no, this is just pants, let's do something different. So it's pretty seductive to get stuck in it, right? To over-identify with the stuck bit rather than what is this here to teach me? What is the message in here? It's like an annoying little, friend at school who's a little bit socially awkward, who's poking at you. This will be the, anxiety, the migraine, the irritable bowel, the ulcerative colitis, the addiction, the, obsession about something. Rejection breeds obsession. When we feel there's a fear of being rejected by life, by an opportunity, we start to obsess about something. We focus on the little things so that we don't have to focus on the big mountain. We're really creative. We're fascinating. This is what I do, why I do what I do, because we're just phenomenally glorious with how we come up with these clever, twisted things in order to self-regulate, to have a sense of being on, okay footing. We'll separate thoughts and feelings. We'll try and control. We'll attack people, push them away, withdraw, do all of this stuff. Again, we all do it. Nobody's immune to this stuff. I just happen to label mine and talk about it. Seriously, we can identify. There's real strength in the identification with, whatever. The chap just ran past here now, and it reminded me. I was at dinner about a year ago with a friend, and this really fit guy, physically fit, walks past, and she looks at him and she's like this, rolls her eyes, and she'd made a judgment that everything's sorted in his world. And I said, it's interesting because I have a client who's bulimic, etc., and same sort of physique. We've got no idea what's going on with other people. That person could be in great shape emotionally and physically. However, he could be a human being, and there could be all kinds of stuff. We don't know what's going on with other people, and we judge so readily. And I did this myself and sort of had to be kind with myself. When I was running this morning, there was a woman, I'm going to get out of the way here, it's getting busy, a woman and her family crossing the street, and she was in her pajamas, and I looked at her pajamas and they had like Disney characters on and stuff, and she body scanned me and looked straight to my knee because I'm wearing a knee brace, or not necessarily because of that, but I am. And I thought, is that what she and I just did in this split second? Did I just judge her on her pajamas with Disneyness, and she judged me on that? I don't know what's going on with her, obviously, but I'll take responsibility for my bit. I judged her pajamas, thinking whatever I was thinking. Nothing horrible, but it was interesting that I wasn't identifying with her smile and her hand-holding with her child and her family, and thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't identify with the smile, I'm looking at her pajamas. I don't know what she was looking at in me and what she was thinking, but I thought, Christ, really? Let's have a reframe of this. What do I want to see? And I kept walking and thought, okay, it's a human thing. We judge. When we're in fear, we're judging of ourselves, and of course we're judging of others. We can't just judge ourselves, my friends. So those of us that think, I'm a lovely person, I never judge anybody, not true. If you judge you, you're judging other people just as harshly, and vice versa. There was another woman running towards me, and she was clearly having a struggle, bless her heart. And I ran across with my hand out, and I thought, put your hand out soon so she doesn't think you're going to jump her or something. I put my hand out and just slapped her hand as we ran past one another, and she smiled and stopped, and we just acknowledged. Again, I don't know her story, she doesn't know mine, but we're doing it, right? And I thought I'd far rather that than whatever projection she may have onto me about what I'm doing, and whatever projection I have onto her about what she's doing. I'd rather connect with her. And it's fascinating to me how much shift can happen when we go, oh, hello, I see you, me too. as opposed to control and separate. That's what the ego is designed to do, really, is attack and separate, judge, all of this stuff. We're doing it towards ourselves and other people. So I was running past the woman and thinking about you guys and how do you explain that? Because for me it's about risk taking, obviously, because what I could have done is go, I'm not going to do that because what if she thinks I'm weird, or what if she doesn't slap my hand or whatever. And the way that I roll most of the time is, well, what if she connects with my hand? What if we look at each other? What if there's kindred spirits in there? What if there's human power, humanity in there? What if there's female power in there? What if that shifts her in the way that it shifted me, which it did? It was very much as good. This is we're tribe, as opposed to she's blonde and I'm brunette and whatever. You know, who cares? That I'd like to see the connect rather than the separation. That's where the power is. Love and connection, that's one of our human needs, obviously, and many of us settle just for connect because love is so scary, which is why we're often constantly in criticism and conflict with people. We're meeting a need for love and connection. Brilliant, very creative. It doesn't necessarily feel good. So how do we want to connect? And again, this is some of what, you know, is my intention, is to have us connect, because I'm me, you're you, but hello, I'm guessing there's some similarities in lots of different ways, and I really welcome whatever you have to say about it, whatever you have to share about it. It's human stuff. 6 human needs, fundamental needs that we have: certainty, uncertainty, growth, love and connection, contribution. What else have we got in there? Significance. These 6 human needs, when we're not meeting them in a way that is really life-affirming, we start to get uncomfortable, and then they start to go down. So we'll meet them in some kind of a way creatively, and many people, me, myself included, have got a sense of love and connection, significance, certainty through being stressed and unwell. I can be certain of it. I can be certain that somebody's going to judge or something. I can get some creative things, needs met through identifying with that part of me. I can equally, and I really invite you to find yourself in the story here, I can equally get needs met by being in another place that says, what do we want, people? Rihanna seems to have this one down. How about we have a think about life in terms of what she's open to, i.e., she's convinced the world is conspiring, the universe is conspiring to support her. What would that be like to sit with for 24 hours and allow ourselves to not know? Maybe there's something greater going on here in a big way for all of us, maybe. It wouldn't be beyond the realms, would it, considering millions of people teach and talk about this. Even with death, you know, when people talk about near-death experiences, what, everybody's lying? Because there's a similar story often, which is there's a lot of light, there's a lot of love, and there's a lot of friends and relatives and people around, and everything feels wonderful. We can have that anytime we like, really, when we look to connect. There's an example here. This lady, you know, she's looking like this running past, and I deliberately held her eye, and she smiles. Everything, facial expression changes with the connection. Oftentimes we just stay in the disconnect, right? So anyway, this is what I'm wanting to share with you, is just where I am with this stuff. Human stuff. Karen, isn't it separating when it's said not to be around people not at our growth level and only surround yourself with those who are there with me? How can we help others if we do that? I'm confused about that honesty. Beautiful, Karen, question. Yes, I'm not teaching separatism here, and a lot of people that talk about personal growth, it's about discerning what is feeding me, what is inspiring me, what is growing me. So absolutely, difference is beautiful, but we get to decide what feeds me, what fills me up, what's good for me. Again, it's putting the gas mask on first, right? What are the conditions, disciplines, habits that you need, you as an individual, we're all different, to thrive. And we get those met first. And whatever we have from the overflow then, fantastic, great. I just want to see that I'm talking straight to this, Karen. not our growth level, and only surround myself with those who are there with me. How can I help others? Okay, so what we can do, I suppose, is this, right? Because I imagine there are some people who may see this video who are really angry and very negative and very stuck and, you know, very identified in that place, and wouldn't necessarily be people that I might know. They might be. There's something in there that we can get through the sharing, right? It depends where we're identifying, where we're hanging out. So we can connect in whatever way. We can get creative about how we connect with people. Equally, there could be some people on here, you know, who knows? Anything is possible. The point is really, when you're feeding you, you're at your best you. When you're caring for you, you're at your most strong you. And things come from that just unexpectedly. We touch people unexpectedly, like this lady today with the hand slap. I don't know anything other than what I've told you. Had I not have been through this and going through this, that may not be something that I would do, and she and I wouldn't have had that exchange. It would have been something else, obviously. And I know to do that stuff because I know how it feels to be alone. I know how it feels to feel fat, overwhelmed, unfit, angry, you know, struggling, whatever. It's not to say that was what she was feeling at all, but I know what it is like to feel disconnected. So I wanted to move to connect, and clearly she responded really well to it. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling now. I think you get my point. You can only send people who are not growing at our pace, love and light. Absolutely, Suzanne. It doesn't mean one cannot connect with them on another level. I love that, Suzanne. What a beautiful thing to say. Absolutely. We get it, right? We can see one another. It doesn't mean we necessarily have to know one another or identify or hang out. We can see and appreciate and love and wish them well and share anyway. Who was it recently? Somebody said she wasn't comfortable with somebody, and so she wouldn't share about herself in a big group. And I thought, what a real shame that for whatever reason, this thing that she wasn't comfortable in about the other person, she allowed to shut her down. And she was saying, you know, if they weren't here, then I'll talk, but if they are, then I won't. And I actually used to do this at university when I was studying. When the men were in the room, because I used to have all issues there, I wouldn't talk, and one of my professors came and she goes, I'm on to you, Poppy. I noticed that when the men aren't here, you talk, and when they are, you don't. And I was like, oh God. She got me, totally. We do this stuff, and it's our stuff, and we rob ourselves, obviously, by giving ourselves the same experience. We can't possibly have another one if we do it the same way. I never gave, did I? In that, I don't know that I did, actually. Maybe I did give myself an experience. Yes, I did. I did, yes. In the following term, I did speak in front of the men. It was really scary for me. And poor sods, I was projecting all of myself onto them. You're going to think this, you're going to say that. They were they were the same. Obviously, we all have our thing. So I really am a great advocate for us looking at the now to say, hang on a minute, where am I in my own way? Where is this person my mirror? Where is this person actually, something's going on with them? I get to look at why I'm having an aversion to it, why I'm curious about it, why I'm chucking all of my strength and pushing it onto them and disowning it and saying, you have what I don't have. We get to, get curious with this stuff, to say, what do I want to do with this? As opposed to just reject it and tell ourselves the same story and respond the same way. Again, definition of madness or insanity, depending on how you want to look at it, doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Whenever I've shifted in life, it's been through reaching out. Really, this was the pivotal point in my entire life. Was one day, I've shared it many times, where I asked for something back. It was an real Oliver moment, where somebody said, I really think you've saved my life here. And we did it together, he and I. It was a brave soul. And I said, well, you could give me something. And he ended up giving me somebody that changed everything. Doors opened. And I know with 100% certainty, doors opened because of my preparedness to put my foot forward and step into this really vulnerable space that said, could you give me something? please, in return. And what was beautiful and unexpected, I hadn't seen this bit coming, was he loved that. Because he could then give to me. I'd given to him, and he suddenly felt equal. Whereas before, he'd felt like he was an F up because I was supporting him. Then there was equality. Then he felt strong. Then he felt, significant. Then he felt the connection, etc. Then lots of his needs got met at the same time because I was saying, hello. Wow, so much changed from that moment. Things opened, and it was literally like I'd gone into a whole nother realm of existence by doing that. Doors opened, situations presented, my whole life changed as a consequence. So here's me sharing with you out of love for us both. Honestly, this is what's going on. This is me looking to love me more and love you more in the process. And whatever I'm sharing, if it's something that in some way could support you, love you, have you go, oh no, I'm not doing it that way, then fantastic, let's learn from it. I'm planning on sticking around doing it. So I send you much love, whatever's going on with you guys in your world. And know that this is very common, by the way. This isn't just a few people. This is the feedback I'm getting anyway from a lot of different networks, a lot of different kinds of people, is people are being challenged right now very heavily with all kinds of different things. They're human things. It's existential crisis. It's human stuff. We all have it going on. People losing their houses, people losing their loved ones, people, going, oh my God, I'm going to get the sack. What's going on? Sometimes there's a rude awakening and we don't necessarily know the answers. We don't necessarily have it all worked out. We're not necessarily right with first look to go, this is bad. Not necessarily. So maybe we take a leaf out of Rihanna's book, and that's what a lot of us were doing, was, hang on a minute, how about you hang out in that camp for a day to get curious? What if this is for me, not against me? So I send you much, much love. Do share the video if you feel any of this is useful for somebody else. Big love. We're human, right? Welcome to the human race. We're winning. Big time. Bye.